do we know that God exists?
You don't. Isn't that like the whole point? That you can't know? That you just, what did the 90s rocker man with the red hat say? You gotta have... Yes, I know, it's technically a George Michael song. Shut up, it's funnier this way. Anyway, yeah, you basically can't know. Now, I think that should lead people to saying, maybe it's bollocks. But what do I know? I'm only right about everything, and extremely attractive, and full of shit, so...
This can be a puzzling question.
And where better to answer life's hard question than in some field somewhere for no reason? Actually, you know what? It's a really strange choice of venue. Do you not have some kind of church or just like a shed or, I don't know, a fucking house to do this in? Is the get up a clue as to why you can't do any of that? Are all the facilities you have access to full of people who make fun of you for this shit? Maybe if they do that, they might be onto something, and perhaps you should stop for all of our sakes.
But one way is through the natural light of reason. In fact,
I'm sorry, the natural light of reason? Are we on some fucking spirit science shit here? Is that you, Jordan, in a disguise, hiding out at a monastery or wherever guys dressed like that hang out? But sure, light, natural, nature, of course also natural, reason, also natural. You know, because it comes from brains. But then you're going to chuck God on top of that and suddenly that's supernatural. I feel like they just aren't meant to gel, dude.
the First Vatican Council 150 years ago declared,
well, let's get pissed, mates. And then we can totally make up a bunch of shit about how God's real. And then tell people that we're totally bros with him and that they should all do as we tell them. And I should know. I was there. See? Look, right there. I mean, I am asleep under the helmet and that's why I didn't get them to not do this stupid shit. But what was I supposed to do? Not be obliterated out of my head? Those guys are real competitive drinkers, man.
that God, the beginning and first of all things, can be known by the means of the natural light of reason.
They said it. That means it must be true. I mean, never mind the fact that, you know, a bunch of people who have a vested interest in the thing they believe not only being real but demonstrable as such, and they might decide that they can definitely do that without actually, you know, fucking doing that. But I'm sure it's fine.
Another way, and actually the way we can understand what he means by, or the council means by created things.
That is hilarious, the way he corrected himself there. I can only assume that the he is supposed to be like God. And then he remembered, well, you know, God didn't say this. So, of course, he might mean a different he. And instead got a giant room full of assholes and one guy confused with each other. Although, when it comes to humans, I get it. I mean, one of you is already way too many. What's the difference a shitload of you gonna make?
Is that taking the whole of nature, contemplating nature.
Oh, for fuck's sake, this better not be a look at the trees, quote unquote, argument. The fact that natural things are appealing to humans in no way proves any sort of God. For starters, not all people have the same aesthetic sense as each other. People find all sorts of shit pretty. People find all sorts of shit really gross. And of course, worst of all, just really, really boring. But all that proves is that people do or don't like certain things. And the fact is, there is a reasonable natural explanation for having aesthetic sense. Humans often find things that are beneficial to them attractive. Forests contain nuts and berries and animals to hunt, as well as trees to build structures from. Rivers and lakes contain water and fish and are excellent ways to travel using a boat. Sort of fresh and healthy natural places contain a plethora of resources and are attractive and inviting. Dead and dying, burnt out, polluted places, well, they're often not worth the time exploring and are thus unsightly and incredibly uninviting. I mean, it's not a perfect idea, but it makes a shit ton more sense than God did a pretty because he's so smart. Forgetting that all the ugly shit exists because it makes that idea sound really fucking stupid, doesn't it?
And that includes the human soul, with our powers of intellect and will.
Wow, a double whammy of extremely dumb fucking points there. First off, human souls are part of nature, are they? I would fucking fucking love you to prove that shit. I mean, I've been testing out this soul detector and it clearly does not work. Apart from when I point it at dogs for some reason. And when I point it at humans, hilarity ensues. And second, that human intellect and will comes from them. Buddy, I think you have confused the idea of a soul with a fucking brain. And I get it. They are clearly so similar. I mean, look at these. Here is a brain with its many neurons and synapses that produce fascinating cognitive abilities. And here's a soul, not existing, because they aren't fucking real. I hope that helps.
But also the other means we can know of God's existence.
Wait, I just realized you literally are just saying we know God is real because brains. No, dude, that's not how that works. You have to actually give us something more than that. It's like saying how to watch a YouTube video and then just talking about the fact that computers exist and never bringing up the internet or operating systems or even the basic concept of websites. Just YouTube is real because computers. That might be kind of something right now, but it certainly wasn't 20 years ago and it probably won't be 100 from now. So it's meaningless. You have to actually explain things if you want to make a point. God fucking damn it.
It's through the supernatural light of faith, which is more direct and actually personal.
Faith isn't supernatural. Holy shit, you are just taking words and smashing them together in the hopes that it sounds like you're saying something smart. No wonder this show isn't called Inside. You really just aren't allowed to be there, are you? No, faith is just a thing that humans do. It's not magic and it doesn't make magic real. It's just a want or desire, or if you like, a wish for something that cannot necessarily be known. But that doesn't make the thing real.
But on the natural means of knowing God's existence, our knowledge is real, but it's indirect.
Real, but indirect. Sounds an awful lot like, here's some information that's true, but it doesn't say what I need / want it to say. So I'm going to do the old trick of reading between the lines, and then suddenly it can say whatever I want it to do. Hooray! I'm right by default.
And so a way we can understand this is that for example, there was an old man who lived out in the desert.
Man, you really are a rambling man, aren't you? Not just because you're out in a field. Some of you will get it. So an old man out in a desert is going to help us prove God. I mean, you have fucking hundreds of old guys in the desert in the book related to the thing you like, and none of them fucking proved God. So let's just say I'm kind of skeptical.
And someone once asked him, how do you know that God exists?
I mean, that's where I get all my information from. Random old men in the middle of fucking nowhere. They are usually the most knowledgeable of all people. Shit, is that why you hang out in the middle of nowhere too? In the hopes that someone will come and ask you for your great insight? I don't know, man. I think the best you are going to get is someone asking you what you know about fertilizer. Although, to be fair, you do talk a lot of bullshit, so...
The way he responded was by the same way that I know when I see footprints in the sand, that I know that a man or an animal has walked this way.
Oh, for fuck's sake, he's about to make an actual argument, maybe, which would be great. It's far better than God real 'cause brain. But I think it's going to be a fucking variant of the watchmaker argument. We know how a thing do because of things we know doing them. Therefore, a thing we have never seen done by anything must have been done by this very specific thing. It's as stupid as it is completely tiresome, and yet this lot endlessly tell it over and over again. It's almost like they are too dumb to get a new goddamn argument.
And that knowledge is actually based on an inference. And that's how we come to know God's existence through the natural means.
Well, you maybe want to give us an inference that demonstrates God, in your mind at least, but it has to be something that cannot be explained by natural means and do not require any kind of God-man in order for it to happen. Otherwise, you might sound really silly. Sorry, I mean, really silly.
So our universe is like a grand cathedral. It's vast, it's majestic, but there's kind of a strange beauty about it too. In fact,
it is pretty vast, but I'm not quite sure about majestic though, mostly because that word is subjective as fuck. I mean, from one point of view, it's a super complicated series of processes that all seem to work together to make the things we see in an incredible fashion. From another, it's almost shockingly simplistic. I mean, the same things just happen at the smallest scales and at the largest scales. It's all just a cosmic spirograph, and I think we all grew out of that at 10 years old. Well, I say all. Whee!
In the 19th century, there was a real prominent scientist by the name of Emile Raymond.
There was a scientist in the 19th century? I don't believe you. Everybody knows that science was invented in 2004 by the hit documentary show Professor House Dr. MD to explain how he could use his magic doctor powers of saying it's not lupus in order to cure all the diseases in the world. It's amazing stuff, really.
And he noticed that there were 7 mysteries about the universe.
Well, I don't know what these mysteries are, but considering it was, a while ago, I do have to wonder if they are in fact still mysteries. Or, mysteries at all and not just statements said as if they are mysteries. Or you haven't understood what was said and just assume that it's good for your side, or any number of other reasons that apologists tend to bring up really old science guys instead of the new ones.
That if we just take matter as our God, and that's the belief that matter is all there is. That's what they call materialism.
No, it fucking isn't. Yeah, materialism is the idea that matter is all there is, but at no point would anyone who isn't a complete dipshit say materialism is that matter is God. That's some voodoo spirit science bullshit. Again, you need to stop couching all other ideas in your God concept. There are other ideas that aren't about any kind of deity. Not all people think that's an idea that makes any fucking sense, mate. But that's mostly because it doesn't.
But with that, our universe is unreasonable.
Listen, Mr. Seal.
The
universe is not unreasonable without some sort of supernatural man in charge. In fact, reason is just something that, again, humans kind of do. They, as far as we know, basically invented it. And I would posit that a universe being controlled from the outside by magic men is very much entirely unreasonable, but that's only because it doesn't make any fucking sense.
In fact, he proposed these questions, namely...
Sick! Me! You know what I mean. He's actually going to say the things. Let's see how many of them are strictly mysteries and definitely ones that can only be explained by God did it, though.
What is the nature of matter and force? Where does motion come from? Where does life originate? What causes sensation and consciousness? Where does rational thought and speech come from? Why do we see order in the universe? What is free will?
Right, okay, so first...
What is the nature of matter and force?
Basically, that's what is physics. Right, so that isn't one we actually know the answer to strictly yet, but what we do know about it is that it's basically the rules of the universe. And without those rules, as they are, the universe wouldn't be as it currently is. But you have to bear in mind that this isn't necessarily the only way that a universe could be. So perhaps universes just appear and collapse with random rule sets, and we just happen to be in one of the stable ones.
Where does motion come from?
Well, the motion's in the oceans, and if you see the boat a-rocking, don't come a-knocking. Pretty sure that's in the Bible.
Where does life originate?
Well, that's one that we get closer and closer to answering as time goes on, and one that we likely will be able to. So less of a mystery and more of a really hard question that's going to require a lot of work to get there. But certainly doesn't seem impossible by any stretch of the imagination. Let me know how the Bible is coming along with the science on that. All right, it isn't.
What causes sensation and consciousness?
Brains? I don't get why people seem to think that this is such a hard question or deep and meaningful. If you start jabbing a brain, you can switch off consciousness easily enough and you can shut down sensation. And potentially, if we get really good at brains as well, we might even be able to turn them back on afterwards. When someone is severely injured or whatever, showing that sure as shit it isn't coming from fucking space or whatever.
Where does rational thought and speech come from?
Same fucking place. We really need to get over the idea that these things are extra special magic nonsense. No doubt they're pretty cool, but they aren't supernatural. They don't need to be special. I am HO, it's just OTT cope FFS.
Why do we see order in the universe?
We see order because systems exist within the universe, and systems often fall into order. The real question is, what's going to happen if/when there's no energy left to maintain that order? Is perfect entropy chaos, or is it order? Spooky ghost noises.
What is free will?
A fiction that we tell ourselves really, really well in order to maintain our illusion that we are in control of the universe. We are not. Oh, and that doesn't mean that God is, though, just so you know.
Now, we've grown a lot in our knowledge in these areas.
That's fucking presumptuous of you. What part of you did that knowledge come from exactly? I'm gonna guess it was fucking none of it. I mean, from this video alone, it feels more like you have had a negative impact on the overall knowledge available to people. God damn it.
But they still remain a mystery. In fact, in some cases, there's been even more mystery opened up about what we don't know based on what we do know.
Yes, that's how knowledge works. But the thing is, if you recall your Apologetics 101, where they told you that God of the Gaps arguments were totally rad and you should do one, good job for not doing that, by the way. But a big part of that is, when we didn't know, the answer was God did it. But that was eventually followed up with, oh shit, it's kind of complicated. But I'm pretty damn sure it's not going to suddenly swing back around to, no, wait, God definitely did it again, when we learn the ultimate complexities of the universe.
So I conclude with this quote by St. Augustine, taken from the Catechism.
Okay, go ahead, but I'm going to conclude with one after you, and mine's going to be way more awesome, so stay tuned, you wouldn't want to miss out.
And he says that, question the beauty of the earth, question the beauty of the sea, question the beauty of the air distancing and diffusing itself, question the beauty of the sky, question all these realities. All respond, see, we are beautiful. Their beauty is a confession. These beauties are subject to change. Who made them, if not the beautiful one, who is not subject to change?
Yeah, sure. Well, don't sweat the petty things and don't pet the sweaty things. George Carlin. And I think that's a lesson to us all. Bye!
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the